ngira ngo yataza na preach yavuze ko rwose guhugura abanyamakuru n'abandi bakoresha ibyo byose HDI retire kuba yabikora kugira ngo bafashe abanyamakuru collecting inkuru nziza zifasha muri promotion ya mental health ariko zitarimo exploitation y'abo bantu sibyo numvaga ari yo comment nari mfite mu Shyaka. Thank you.
Murakoze cyane mureke dushimire aba panelists bacu ku kiganiro cyiza bamaze kutugezaho. Wali mukanya gato tureta dukomeza with the next session.
So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause again to the panelists in the house as they take their seats back. Let's give a round of applause to them as they go back to take their seats, and we continue with the second, the next last session before we go to the lunch. Are you benefiting something? I don't know. You can ask them in Kenya, Rwanda. Are they getting something?
Ese hari ikintu mukuyemo byibura? Dukomeze cyaturekere. Wali reka rero tudatinze duhamagare abandi bantu bagiye kutuganiriza ku ngingo zitandukanye harimo ingaruka mu bijyanye no mu mutwe n'ubuzima bwo mu mutwe zatewe na COVID-19 by'umwihariko mu magereza. Turazikubiramo ibintu byinshi bitandukanye. Wari, let's welcome the first speaker on the stage.
Our first speaker is Mr. Felix Bigabo from Prison Fellowship. Can he join us on the stage? Thank you so much.
Felix Bigabo, umuyobozi wa Prison Fellowship. Okay.
So, Mr. Felix is coming again on the session to present us this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, moderator, for giving me this opportunity. Maybe on the side of technical team, if you can put on the screen my presentation. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. My name is Felix Bigabo. I'm working for Prison Fellowship Rwanda, and I'm very pleased to be standing here to present, to make a presentation on psychosocial effect of COVID-19 on prisoners. Of course, Prison Fellowship Rwanda is a co-organizer of this conference with Rwanda Youth Impact, and we are very pleased to see it happening now. My education background, I'm a psychologist with long experience on psychosocial community healing, but also in the peace building. The presentation I'm going to share with you is not based on the outcome of the research, but is based from the routine activities of the organization conducted in prisons, but also in communities. As the topic of my presentation, the psychosocial effect, an overview of psychosocial effect of COVID-19 on prisoners, but also on the families of prisoners, including youth and children. Of course, the outline of my presentation will be consisting of giving a short summary of Prison Fellowship Rwanda, some of psychosocial intervention that Prison Fellowship Rwanda is conducting in prison, but also in the communities. Of course, while we are exchanging on the effect of COVID, I will be sharing with you about the lived experience of COVID-19 of prisoners, but also the lived experience from the use of children of prisoners left in their families or in their communities. And then I will come up with a short conclusion from my presentations. Regarding the background of the organization, Prison Fellowship Rwanda is a faith-based organization that was created in 1995, just 1 year after the genocide. It has been affiliated to Prison Fellowship International in 1995. It works in partnership with government and government institutions, local and international organizations. As a vision, a restoring community for all involved and affected by the 1994 genocide against Tutsi and other crimes. Of course, we are contributing in the psychosocial rehabilitation of prisoners, not only genocide prisoners, but also even for those who are in prison for the common law cases. Our mission is fostering intervention that supports psychosocial healing, peace building, reconciliation, spiritual resilience, crime prevention, and human rights. So we are conducting different activities to contribute in this journey of psychological healing and reconciliation. We work in all prisons, we work in the communities, but also we are currently intervening in a refugee camp, providing community-based support and legal aids. In terms of achievement, our organization has achieved a lot in the journey of reconciliation and rehabilitation. Because of the constraint of time, I'm not going to mention all of those achievements, but I'm just going to focus on the psychosocial effect of COVID-19 on prisoners, and also sharing with you some of testimonies from prisoners and even from the youth or children of prisoners. So there are some psychosocial interventions that are being implemented in the prison. The panelist was talking about the lack of access to mental health. And I think that one of the challenge, of course, was also the shortage of mental health professionals and psychologists. That is why in Rwanda, we introduced community-based healing approach that was contextualized to give access to a big number of Rwandans to mental health services. One of approach that Prison Fellowship Rwanda is using in the prison is social therapy approach. Social therapy is an approach that brings together people who are living in the same environment, same community to reflect constructively in their life, share together their experience, and learn from each other. This approach has 6 phases or journeys. When people meet, for example, in the prison, of course, we do have genocide prisoners, common law prisoners, including even youth, who are there for drug abuse and other cases. So they meet together in healing spaces where they share their stories, their experience of suffering. So throughout the healing process, they can restore the feeling of safety, feeling of trust, feeling of respect, feeling of care. Okay, thank you so much. So this is one of the approach that is contributing and being implemented in the prison. Of course, the objective of this approach, of course, is to contribute to the improvement of mental health, reconciliation, but also rehabilitation and reintegration of prisoners. Maybe let's start from one of testimonies based on this is one of testimonies. I am in prison for the crime of drug trading. This is one of youth who is in prison for drug abuse. I was sentenced for 1 year half imprisonment. I was accused for one of my neighbors. Just after my imprisonment, I plan to harm him as soon as I will be released. After attending social therapy healing sessions, I heard different stories from other group participants. I realized that how heavy were also their problem and how they are dealing with them. I also decided to disclose and share with them my problem. They advised me on how to deal with my problem, and therefore, I decided to change the healing plan I was conceiving. So this is one of testimonies of one young man who was imprisoned because of drug abuse. But after attending the healing session in prison, so he came up to change and to accept. He was conceiving even to commit recidivism, but throughout attending the healing session in the prison, he changed it. And maybe because of time constraint, let's just go straight to some of experience of prisoners during the COVID period. Due to COVID pandemic, prisoners were temporarily suspended, and prisoners were limited to maintain contact their outside world. However, alternative measures were taken by Rwanda Correctional Service to maintain these contacts, such as phone call, use of mobile money, and this was valued by prisoners. So it means that when we go to some of their courts and experience, they were experiencing a kind of anxiety because of temporary suspension of visit from people from outside to the prison. But alternative measures were put together by Rwanda Correctional Service and even by Prison Fellowship Rwanda, because we're using our volunteers within the prisons to conduct some of healing session within the prison. This is some of courts. I'm thankful to Rwanda Correction Service for measures they took to protect us from COVID pandemic to stop spreading. The physical disconnection from the outside world was needed to prevent the pandemic. However, I was anxious about my family members in the community, and I was always praying for them. Because the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, I could have been visited by many relatives several times. I was always scared, wondering what will happen if the pandemic will continue. Now we are safe, we have all been vaccinated, and my relatives from community can visit me again. So this was an expression of the feeling of anxiety, because most of prisoners, they say that for them, because they were in the same place, they were not exposed as their family members who were left in the communities. This is another, before COVID-19, my family members were often visiting me. The pandemic disturbed many things that were important to my life. I became anxious about my life and the life of my family members. But now the situation has returned to normal. Social therapy groups were resumed, and measures has been taken for our family members to visit again. Many thanks to prisoners. This is another court. Maybe let me go straight to two last we mentioned about another approach that Prison Fellowship Rwanda is using is spiritual resilience. As they mentioned, is also contributing a lot to transform not only prisoners in general, but also the young people who are there because of drug abuse. And the last comments or presentation I'm going to talk is about how the youth or children of prisoners experience the COVID period. Prison Fellowship Rwanda is using another approach that is called the child journey. Before COVID-19 pandemic, children or young people left in the communities, they were visiting their families, their parents in prisons. But during the COVID-19 period, the program was stopped. So some of them experienced depression and even developed antisocial behaviors that I'm going to share with you and give some examples before I close. Through this program, most of children with incarcerated parents reported much feeling of loneliness compared to the situation before the COVID-19, when visiting their incarcerated parents was still possible. Lack of contact with their incarcerated parents increased worries and other negative emotional and social behaviors among youth. Increased family conflict, especially between teen girls and their mothers. Children worried about the future and that of their incarcerated parents. Decreased interest in school attendance, and we had many cases of school dropout during the COVID pandemic, just because teenagers, youth were no longer able to meet with their parents in the prison, at least to listen from them and to have advice, to have conversation with them. And some of them, of course, developed different antisocial behaviors. For example, we recorded 2 cases of young people who even joined Gatagara Rehabilitation Center, and this was one of the outcome of not having opportunity to meet again with their parents and discuss with them. As I'm concluding, Prison Fellowship Rwanda took some alternative measures to help those young people, children, to recover from the COVID-19 experience. Some of them were contacting children youth via phone call. Psychoeducation about COVID-19 pandemic was provided to youth, and this contributed to reduce the feeling of anxiety and worries among them. Young adolescents, girls and boys were met and discovered various issues, particularly sexual and reproductive health, as you can see here in this picture. So to be short, from PFR routine activities and the monitoring of psychosocial activity in prisons, it has observed that prisoners have experienced anxiety during lockdown and toward their family members left in the community. Prisoners valued measures taken by RCS to care and protect them against COVID pandemic. The pandemic situation has shown that connecting prison to community and their family members, including children, is beneficial to their rehabilitation and psychosocial well-being as well. To date, as others shared, little focus has been given to the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on the mental health in general. I think also that is also a gap in regard with the need for research. And the lack of psychosocial support of prisoner children and youth left in the communities may lead to antisocial and delinquent behavior based on testimonies and quotes from those children. Research are needed on the psychosocial effect of parental imprisonment on youth children left in the families to contribute to the prevention and antisocial and delinquent behavior, including drug abuse. Prison Fellowship Rwanda is grateful toward Rwanda Correction Service for the good partnership in the psychosocial rehabilitation of prisoners general. To be brief, that is what I can say. I think that this was just about the routine activities that Prison Fellowship Rwanda is conducting in prison. And now we are very happy that activities has resumed in the prisoners. Now we'll continue to intervene so that we can contribute to fill the gap and even some of the challenges left by COVID-19, both in prison and the communities. Thank you so much.
We thank you so much, Mr. Felix. I think you can give him his laptop. Maybe you might want to use it just near him. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Felix Bigabo from Prison Fellowship Rwanda. Because of time, we are just now limited to the next 20 minutes, but we need to do this session, then we go for lunch. I know everybody want to eat, but just be patient for the next 20 minutes. We want to call upon our next panelist called Dr. Aline Ndaisenga from King Faisal Hospital to come. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Aline Ndaisenga to come to the podium.
Dr. Arlene Ndaisenga turutse mu bitaro bya byitiriwe umwami Faisal yaza imbere kuri stage please. Is she there?
Or anyone representing her. Then we also have virtually Ms. Begum Ozdemir from Turkish Green Crescent. They are live on, they are going to join us virtually. Then for us to moderate this session, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to call Mr. Jasper
Nuwahereza niwe ugiye kuyobora kino kiganiro yaza imbere kuri stage.
Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Jasper. Already, Ms. Begum Ozdemir is already online. Thank you.
If you please kindly make me a co-host.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for attending. One thing that is so special about this session is that we are discussing human matters. When we discuss matters that concern us as human beings, then we are only trying to be more human. And you know, this involves you, it involves me, it involves your neighbor, it involves your sister, your brother, the religious clerics, politicians, and everyone, because mental health is a human matter. We apologize because Dr. Aline, she's away. She was meant to talk to us about alcohol dependence, but she has not made it. But we also want to continue with our next panelists. Thank you so much, Mr. Felix, for doing so. I'm called Nuwahereza Jasper. I come from Uganda, Kampala, and I'm a team leader of Resolve and Impact Hub. Resolve and Impact Hub is a private organization in Kampala. We work with corporate organizations. We help organizational staff in dealing with mental health related challenges. And so one of us talked about well-being diplomacy. I think it is an area to think about. Thank you so much. And to Felix, I want to thank you for your presentation. We shall give you time to ask him a question. I think when I go to Kampala, we need also to create something of your version for our prison because it was a good learning area. We have our next speaker online who happens to be Begum Ozdemir. She comes to us, she will be talking to us online. She has graduated from the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Yields Technical University. And she's also continuing her master's degree in international relations, Turkey, Europe, and Middle East at Begazes University in Istanbul. And currently, she's working as an international policies and advocacy specialist for Turkish Green Crescent under the Academy Directorate. And so the question that I will give to her that she's going to handle online as she's yet to present. One thing that we understand is that there is need for mental health services, as we have heard from our previous speakers. And so there is a word that we talk about when it comes to mental health, and it is called advocacy. And one wonders what is all about advocacy as far as mental health is concerned. And so my question to you, our next speaker, we would want you to paint for us a picture what is all about advocacy, the role of advocacy in prioritizing mental health services. It is your time, please. You can talk to us. Thank you.
My screen. I hope that it is clear. You can see it.
You need to text her and let her know that we are hearing her. Please do the text. Do the text.
Today I will talk about the role of advocacy in prioritizing mental health services. So when we look at what is advocacy, I would like to define it. It is basically a deliberate process of influencing those who make decisions about developing, changing, and implementing policies. So the advocacy movement is grounded in the belief that social change occurs through politics and that the state can move to act behalf of people with specific strategies and interventions drawn from political science and used to affect the desired political change. So from the Green Crescent perspective, advocacy aims to reduce the misinformation on public health related matters, raise awareness, and achieve effective public health policies. So what do we advocate? Our main goal is to provide healthier lives for future generations. We believe that all people, without any discrimination, deserve better living standards to fulfill their potential. We are working on improving public health policies, and we believe that effective public health advocacy should include evidence-based scientific knowledge on what is good or harmful for public health, awareness of public health demands of different communities, information on ways and procedures to access decision-making process. So in this sense, we would like to contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda 2030, and our work specifically contributes to SDG 3, which is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being of all at all stages. So we also contribute to SDG 3.4, 3.5, and 3.8. We are carrying out a wide range of work in the fields of prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation by using evidence-based methods to promote healthy living for all people and to contribute to the sustainable development of communities. So when we look at the relation between drugs and mental health, we can clearly see that there are many links. The drivers of drug use can be so divergent, and people take drugs for many different reasons. It may begin out of curiosity or because some friends take them. So people may enjoy taking them and want to repeat the experience, or people might take drugs when they're unhappy, stressed, or trying to cope with problems in life. So some people with mental health diagnosis may use drugs to help them cope with the symptoms, which might lead to dual diagnosis. Although drugs can act as a temporary prop to get through difficult times, they make difficult feelings and emotions even worse. So, in the long term, any feeling of relief won't last, which may cause using more and more drugs to deal with problems that might lead to dependency. So there are different ways that drugs can affect mental health. For some people, taking drugs can lead them long-term mental health problems. For instance, regular cannabis use can increase the risk of anxiety and depression. There's also a link between using stronger cannabis and developing psychosis. Stimulant drugs can make one feel depressed, anxious, or paranoid. Cocaine, a type of stimulant, can make previous mental health problems recur and trigger psychosis. So, why should we advocate for mental health, prioritizing mental health services? The answer to this question is quite simple, yet it is difficult to implement. Obviously, mental health is the whole of our sentimental, psychological, and social health, and is directly linked to however we feel, behave, or live. Therefore, treatment and recovery services for mental health problems are equally vital as other health problems. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has revealed that mental health services are still seen as renounceable, and the disruption in the mental health services left people vulnerable. To prevent people from getting more vulnerable to drug use disorders or any other mental health problems, and to increase the capacities of treatment services, we should increase our efforts to raise awareness of the importance of mental health and treatment services. So why advocate? While increasing our efforts, we should keep in mind that there's a huge industry that works to improve its business and trying to gain new customers each day. So we know from the facts of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime that the number of people who use drugs increases each year, and the drug use increase among women and children, which proves the fact that the scope of the market also increased. The drug market has now digitalized, and now everyone has become a potential customer to the market. We should acknowledge the fact that the cannabis industry is growing rapidly, targets young people, and uses misinformation strategies to gain more profit, which we will see on the misinformation strategies on the next slide. But I would like to mention that new cannabis products are entering the market each day with edible products and liquids that target mostly children and the youth. So when we look at the misinformation strategies to prevent people from harmful products that would poison their health, both mentally and physically, we should acknowledge the strategies of these industries. So here I put some examples of misinformation strategies of the tobacco and alcohol industries, which they were once found out to be not so harmful. But we see the same trend in the cannabis industry. So there are some myths about cannabis are like this. Cannabis is not addictive. Everyone uses. it's okay to drive when you're using cannabis or use cannabis in a decent time. So, and also you can't overdose on cannabis, which all of them are wrong and manipulative. We believe that it is crucial to combat these strategies and that don't care about anyone's health, but they only feed people's mental health problems by both harming them and by preventing them to reach for treatment actually. So lastly, we should talk about what should be done or what should be achieved. So the most important one is community empowerment, which is the process of enabling communities to increase control over their lives. And empowerment here refers to the process by which people gain control over the factors and decisions that shape their lives. We should increase awareness of the importance of mental health problems and increase the capacity of available treatment services. So we need to promote healthy living standards by increasing the efforts and training of children and the family. Last but not least, we have to inform the public and the decision makers about the strategies and improve public health policies to decrease the vulnerabilities of the society. So this is the end of my presentation. I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ms. Began, for that presentation. My take-home point from her presentation, we got to know about the principal elements of advocacy. Number one being advocacy actions, awareness raising, education, training, information, and defending. So she was trying to say that this is developed to promote the human rights of persons with mental disorders, reducing stigma and discrimination. The big question that I would put to you that you don't need to answer now is, what are you doing as an individual as far as advocacy is concerned? Someone can say here that me, I am not a victim. You can as well as say you're not a survivor, but you can do the advocating work. If not, you can be a mental health champions. Those are the people who are not afraid to talk about mental health. Those are the people who are not afraid to associate with people who have lived experiences of mental health. And I think that's what brings us here, all of us. I'm going to give only 2 questions in the interest of time. You would ask Mr. Felix about the presentation that he did. If you have any area that you would want to shed more light or to ask him about, this is going to be your time. And also, Ms. Began online, please. Do we have any questions down there? About 2. It would be good to go. It seems I do not see anyone down there, but for me, I will ask him on your behalf. Mr. Felix, you know, when you talk about prisoners, it is an entity that is always in isolation. You know, we are not always out there to know what they are going through, even the social challenges we are talking about. You know, we have little is being done as far as that, especially to us members of the public to go and check on them. Now, it is one thing to deal with them while they are within that confinement inside the prison. But upon releasing them, when they are getting out, going back to the communities, is there any special program that they go through, preparing them to face the community? That would be my question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your good question. Of course, during my presentation, I say that one of psychosocial intervention that Prison Fellowship Rwanda is conducting also is to contribute in the community reintegration of prisoners. Those psychosocial intervention, of course, I was talking about the healing spaces within the prisons. Those can be considered as pre-release interventions that contribute not only to the rehabilitation, but also the preparation of the life after imprisonment. For those who graduated from different psychosocial healing in prisons, are also being reintegrated into their communities. And I can say that it is a continuation of intervention. Those interventions that are being conducted in prison are the same interventions that are being even conducted in the prison, in the communities. And when we talk of peaceful cohabitation and offenders and victims, when they have been followed during their imprisonment and they are released, so they have to go back and they live close with their victims or other community members. So we have also community healing spaces in the communities where former prisoners are brought together with other community members in different community healing spaces. I think that is one of the elements of my answer. And but maybe to be wide, we do have also different programs that support the families of released prisoners, including their children. I was talking about the child journey prisoners. As you know, when the young people have been separated for a long time from their parents because of imprisonment, so they do present many psychological problem, psychosocial problem that need interventions. That is why I can say I call upon other non-governmental organizations. Please don't fear to go intervene in the prison. Prisons, Bishop John, often prisons say that they are considered as being in another country, whereas it's in the same country. That is why maybe I could call upon other stakeholders to think of maybe also to go to prisons. The same activity that we are conducting in the communities can be applied in the prisoners and can contribute a lot in the effective community reintegration of former prisoners.
Wow, thank you so much. Let us give him a standing ovation for being around today. Your individual responsibility is that you could be knowing a family that has an inmate or someone who has been imprisoned, but what is your role? Are you doing something to support those families? Are you doing something to support the loved ones of that person? You may not go there to see them, but what are you doing to support them? Because in doing so, you identify with mental health and well-being. Thank you so much. It has been Jasper Nwaheriza moderating this session. I come from Kampala. I came with a colleague, Agatha, who is our administrator. Please, you can wave. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much. All the way from Kampala. Let's give a round of applause. Hope he has come through Gatuna border. I saw President Museveni coming through Gatuna border last week at Chogam. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know I don't want to stay further more than a minute. We want to eat. We are hungry. Are you hungry, guys? Yes, I know you're hungry. So now, I want to call upon our VIP, our dignitaries. I think I'll have one guy from the protocol to lead the team. Everybody remain seated. We want to first see our executive, our dignitaries, to first lead. The guy is going to lead it, go in and take the team. Can we follow this role in front?
Leka protokoli dufashe ibanze yereke abayobozi aho baca bajya gufata lunch, natwe twese bahita dukurikiraho tujya gufata lunch. Ntago turi butinde, ni isaha imwe gusa tukongera tugahurira hano tugakomeza n'izindi gahunda. Murakoze, enjoy.
So everybody remain seated whilst all the executive will go to the lunch. The partners of health, the BDF, the youth remain seated. But all the dignitaries, all of you on the front row and the partners, please can you, all our fathers and mothers in the house.
Aba papa na mama bari hano babanze.
Yes. Just follow the protocol.
Bahaguruke protokoli bereke. Urubyiruko turaba twicaye gato hanyuma natwe turakurikira.
Please may you, because I know once the youth get the chance to go up front, it will be difficult for us to contain the line. So, youth, just be patient. Our fathers, our mothers, Kampala must be there again. Uganda is represented in the house. India is there in the house. Turkey is there in the house. We also want to thank the one who was also presenting virtually. We thank you. Yes. So soon after lunch, we come here exactly at 2 o'clock. Then we talk to BDF, to those who have some projects, who needs funding. This is our best time to mingle and mix. So the youth, now we can now follow the team and go to the lunch.
Rubyiruko rero namwe mushobora guhaguruka protokoli kabereka aho muca mujya gufata lunch.
Yes.
Hanyuma muze kugaruka saa 8 zuzuye duhurire hano dukomeze n'izindi gahunda. Hari ibiganiro byiza, turaza kubaza ibibazo, turaza gupresenta imishinga dufite. Nkuko babibabwiye tupresenta imishinga yacu hanyuma ibyiza birakomeza biza ntihagire ubura.
Beauty. Do you know my son is here?
No, where is he?
They put the